So, hi everyone, welcome to the Matched Advising Program for Sophomores, or MAPS, Choosing a Concentration slides deck. So, today we're going to go through a bunch of slides to hopefully help give you some better direction on what to think about when going about declaring a concentration.
Yep.
This is sort of an overview about what we're going to be talking about throughout the slides deck. So, first, we're going to give you a background on what you already might know about choosing a concentration, and then we're going to go into the purpose of what do you want to know now that you kind of figured out what you have known so far. Then we're going to go into some methodologies about how you can sort of go about studying what you want to know and how you want to know it. And then finally, we're going to leave you with some closing questions on what do you want to know now and who do you want to ask, and hopefully give you better direction again on choosing a concentration now that you know more of the purpose and methodologies behind that.
Great, thanks Iman. So before we get started on discussing the thought processes and logistics of choosing a concentration, we ask that you first take a minute to think about and/or jot down what you already know about choosing a concentration at Brown. You can pause this video to consider your thoughts and questions. After that, please take another minute to think about and/or jot down what you already know about the Matched Advising Program for Sophomores, or MAPS, and it's totally fine if you don't know anything about either of these two things. All right, thank you for taking a couple minutes to orient yourself towards what we'll be sharing today. But first, we'd like to briefly introduce ourselves. I'm Ayla, one of the coordinators of the MAPS program for the academic year 2024 to 2025. And having introduced us was Iman, and joining us for this presentation later will be Charles. So MAPS is a peer mentoring program focused on supporting sophomores in navigating their second years at Brown and preparing to transition to their junior and senior years. You're probably, hopefully, familiar with the Meiklejohn program at Brown and its support for first-year students. But the MAPS program recognizes that such support drops off in sophomore year. So this program exists to ensure that sophomores have access to needed resources in order to feel a sense of agency, inclusion, and belonging. The program pairs sophomores with upperclassmen students, juniors and seniors, to create a community of mentors, mentees, and educators as they explore academics, campus life, and future planning at and beyond Brown.
Hi, so I'm Charles, one of the other co-coordinators of the MAPS program, along with Iman and Ayla. So one cool framework for just setting the stage on choosing your concentration is Ikigai and the 4 Ps. Combining 2, 3, or even 4 of these elements can provide some valuable insights for selecting a concentration that aligns with your strengths, interests, and long-term goals. So be intentional about what you enjoy doing and how it connects to your aspirations and future career prospects. So just take some time to reflect on your past experiences, your current interests, and your future ambitions. And you can ask yourself, what have I excelled at and truly enjoyed in the past? What challenges have I faced, and what tasks do I absolutely dislike doing? How do my skills and passions contribute to my sense of purpose and future career goals? And these reflections can guide you in choosing concentration that not only enhances your time at Brown, but also shapes the direction of your future. So here's a visual presentation of Ikigai, and it kind of illustrates how combining the different elements can help guide you in a particular direction. And keep in mind that this is just a framework, not a rigid formula, so everything here doesn't apply perfectly to everyone, and it's just here to really frame a way of thinking. And some more context on Ikigai is that it's a Japanese concept that translates to a reason for living, and it brings together 4 key aspects, which are what you love, what the world needs, what you're good at, and what you can be paid for. And while this does provide value insights, the most important thing is how you apply it to your own journey in choosing a concentration, and then how you apply that to your future. All right, so here we have the CRC's definition of what a concentration is, and that's the focal point for students' undergraduate educational experience at Brown. It is an in-depth study centering on a discipline or disciplines, a problem or a theme, or a broad question. Concentrations aid in your intellectual development by encouraging conceptual and methodological study on a sophisticated level. Such in-depth study allows students to gain command of an area of knowledge sufficient to equip them to engage in meaningful creative efforts in that area. The unity of the subject matter helps develop students' abilities to use concepts and methods in a coherent manner.
Now we ask you to reflect on these 5 elements of a concentration: content, methods or methodology, foundations, pathways or tracks, capstone or thesis, co-curriculum, and community. So we ask you also to either think about or jot down how you would define each of these 5 elements and what they mean to you, again, both in your time at Brown or even before, during high school, your other academic endeavors. You can also reflect on the academic experiences that you've had so far, perhaps as a sophomore, and going back to what Charles had mentioned with Ikigai, what did you like and dislike about your learning vis-a-vis these 5 elements?
Yeah, so the purpose of these slides today is to help you consider what your interests are, strength in previous classes, what topics you want to learn, how you want to learn those topics, so through what methods you want to do that, and how you apply what you learn, and who you want to learn those subjects from.
Now we wanted to go into some of the concentration types that you might have seen around or be familiar with. So first there's disciplinary concentrations, things like biology or history. Those are kind of just like one sort of subject matter. Then you have multidisciplinary, so for instance like ATMA economics or ATMA CS, which include 2 different disciplinary concentrations into one. Then you have interdisciplinary concentrations, things like modern culture and media or independent concentrations. Those are concentrations that kind of take different aspects from multiple different areas and concentrations and combine them into a concentration. And then you have similar concepts from different vantage points, such as political science and international public affairs, which there are a lot of similarities between the 2 concentrations. It's sort of just from how you want to learn what the topics are. Next, we want to go into the ways of which you can learn these different topics in your concentrations. So we want to go into methodologies and different ways of learning, doing, and knowing. So this slide gives you a brief overview on the various methods, skills, and competencies that concentrations can help you build. And we want you to kind of try and think and relate it back to the concentrations that you might have seen before or been interested in, and the requirements and what skills you're hoping to gain from those classes that you're going to take. So there are more qualitative research skills like ethnography, focus groups, interviewing, and case studies. There's quantitative research, which is more with numbers, whether that's like coding or statistics, econometrics, more data classes. There's creative practice, such as advanced studio, research to performance methods, creative nonfiction or writing. There's scientific methods. There's humanities, which is more like theory and philosophical argumentation. And then you have cultural studies, which can be some sort of language, or if you're thinking about maybe studying abroad. So all concentrations sort of offer a various mix of all of these different methods and skills in learning and can help you grow your skill set. And so it's a really good thing to reflect on when thinking about how you want to learn, what you want to learn, and what you're curious about. Do you want to do more theory classes or creative writing, or are you more interested in, using big data to solve problems or doing case studies on real life examples of what you're learning in the classroom. So this is a really good chart to reflect on when you think about how you want to learn, what you're interested in, and what skills you hope to gain, both in your classes but also beyond in your extracurriculars and your career after Brown.
Awesome. Thanks, Iman. Now, we'll be circling back to the questions we covered at the beginning of our presentation. What do you do with this information you just learned? What else do you want to know? And who do you want to ask? Fortunately, Brown offers many learning communities and resources to answer your questions. One resource you can go to is us, again, the Matched Advising Program for Sophomores, or MAPS. We pair sophomores with upperclassmen who are informal mentors and advisors on all things academics, extracurriculars, professions, and social life. And secondly, representing concentrations are departmental undergraduate groups, or DUGs, comprised of students who are concentrators in those areas of study and can provide the student experience that are advisors for each concentration. Their contacts, as well as those of a concentration's faculty advisors, are shown at the bottom of each concentration site, the list of which can be found at this link titled Undergraduate Programs. Most, if not all, concentration advisors who are faculty are thesis and capstone advisors as well. So if you're considering pursuing these culminating experiences, you can reach out to any of these faculty directly. Their areas of research interests and contacts can be found on Researchers at Brown, linked here where it says Research Directory. Also offered by several departments, identity centers, and research labs are newsletters, which are normally linked to each group's websites. Newsletters offer information about academic opportunities, such as fellowships, and other learning opportunities, such as lectures, events, and colloquia, which are seminars and conferences. And all of these endeavors include the faculty and researchers involved in particular areas of study. Finally, feel free to use a copy of this worksheet as you plan your courses for your concentration or concentrations and/or certificates. You can click the bit.ly link up here or scan the QR code on your phone. And that concludes our presentation. We thank you so much for being here with us to learn about how to navigate and eventually decide on a concentration. We recognize that this is not the end of this conversation, so you can always meet with us. Again, we are located at the Curricular Resource Center, or the CRC, which is below the Career Center on 167 Angel Street. The contacts linked here are for Janet Isserlis, who is our supervisor and the assistant director of the CRC, and then Dean Peggy Chang. And our MAPS website is also linked here, as well as our direct email inbox. So thank you for, again, taking the time to be here with us.
Yep. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully we could demystify the concentration selection process, and with the resources that we provide today, help you choose the correct concentration.